Hello and welcome to the finale of the 4 races of Hartlepool as we get set to go racing. Your pole sitter for this race is the number 10 of Ralph Mason, and alongside him is HTFRA buddy Pichu London. As we're getting set to take the green flag for the final time out of these 4 races, let's take a look at the drivers that are mathematically eligible for the championship as we're about ready to take the green flag, and there is the green flag. The drivers eligible are Randy Carpenter, Luke Martin, Eric Burton, Johnny Gardner. Oh my goodness, they're going 3 abreast. This is going to be very interesting. Connor Breeden. Oh my gosh! No! 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 Oh! Oh my gosh! Oh! Oh man, there has to be some fatalities in that wreck. It's hard to see because of the camera angles. But involved are Pichu London, Richard Earnhardt, Matthew McMurray, Denholm Renholm, Kyle, let's see, the 43 of, I gotta think, let's see, Kamui Perez. I'm referring to the Season 1 driver of the Dodge All-Pro Series, Kyle Perry. The 88's involved Diego Ospina. We have, let's see, Matt Wells involved, Luke Martin. The 22 of David Burton, Seth Cole, Sean Galligan, the Ganassi drivers, they ought to be furious. On the 15 of Aaron Mason. The 20 is involved of Danny Wells, Kyle Sinoski, Elijah Koufax, Callum Wales, Connor Breeden, Michael Skinner. The 8 is involved, the 21 of Jacob Bell, Steve Sinoski. I believe that's Richard in the 8, Richard Johnson. But holy cow, we have to see how this wreck unfolded. Well, here's for Matthew McMurray's far chase, because he was one of the few drivers we saw got involved, but watch the 4 of Richard Earnhardt turn Pichu London. Matthew is going to take a hard lick to the driver's side door. Bam! Watch him flip. A lot of these drivers get involved in that wreck. Luke Martin gets airborne. Diego Ospina. All the drivers behind them are riding on top of others, including those that were in championship contention, like Seth Cole, for example. But, oh my gosh. Matthew McMurray, end over end. We're going to have to take a look at the far chase viewpoints of the other drivers involved. Oh, and look at that. Sean Galligan even goes for a spin. A spin in which he flips like the rest. Denholm Renholm, David Burton. Sean has to be absolutely pissed off. He loves this track so much. There's Madison Denhart and Johnny Gardner and Evan Earnhardt. Looks like they made it by safely. Well, we'll take a look from Madison Denhart's onboard camera. But first, we're going to take a look on the on-car cams of the other drivers that were involved, courtesy of the far chase cam. Here's from Sean Galligan's point of view. There's the mess happening up front. But all that smoking and debris. Oh my gosh. Matthew McMurray and Pichu London, I think we're mostly concerned about. And thank goodness for the Earnhardt bar, or Seth Cole would have been killed. A lot of drivers probably would have been killed. Of course, the Earnhardt bar, named after Dale Earnhardt, after his terrifying incident in the 1996 Die Hard 500. See, David Rochester, I think Monica Carroll got by. The 6 got by as well. I believe that was Eric Burton. And Please forgive me if I do get your names wrong. I have not filmed a Hartlepool race in a while, so I will be doing my best. But let's now see it from the point of Sean's teammate, Seth Cole. Here's from the roof can of Seth Cole. Watch what happens. That hard hit. It's really hard for me to describe what's going on, but there's David Burton's flip. And all this is being shown in slow motion. Look at Denholm Renholm's car being thrown around. Sean Galligan taps Matt Wells and the 41 of his teammate, Seth Cole, which you're riding on board with. But the main reason we're showing these cameras and these onboard rides in slow motion is for you viewers to get the full picture of what's going on. Now, as I promised, here's the on-car cam of Madison Denhard. Well, here is the onboard camera from Madison Denhard. When I've just gotten word that Pichu London and all the other drivers that were involved in a flip, only the drivers that have flipped and drivers that have suffered possible injuries have been taken to a local hospital in the Hartlepool area. And it looks like Madison Denhard only suffered a few minor scrapes. It wasn't much, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. She should be able to continue, but all the chaos in front of her, I mean, the driving skills she's been proven so far in Season 2 of the Dodge All-Pro Series have finally come to her, and maybe today she may have the chance to win this race. Well, our sympathies go out to those that were involved in the big wreck and suffered the worst of the worst, and we hope you recover successfully. Well, here we are, back with the racing action. Here the drivers are out, and if you just joined us, it is a 32-car field because of Chase Normile closing his YouTube account. But I believe from everybody, Connor Breton on back is all retired, or is getting the necessary repairs done so they may continue to compete as Ralph Mason leads them back down, and we're back racing. Tough break for a lot of drivers. Sean Galligan, he's probably sitting right now in the helicopter, wishing he were racing. Madison Denhard scrapes that Sharpie Ford of hers. Aaron Williams has taken the lead, and following in second right now is his teammate David Rochester. Aaron's still leading the race, and he's going to lead this lap. But we still have a hard-charging crew of drivers that are still mathematically eligible for the championship. As you can see, from some cars like that of Richard Johnson, they only have like minor scrapes or so. We're able to continue. Monica Carroll, she's mathematically out of the championship, but she's got to be thinking to herself, at least I'm finally having a better run than I've been having those previous 3 races. And right now, she's hoping she's with her boyfriend, Aaron Williams. There's Eric Burton. He dives down from his teammate, Madison Denhard. She's starting to fall back. And 2 abreast between the teammates, Aaron Williams and David Rochester. Ralph Mason, has once again reclaimed the lead. He was your pole sitter for this race. Here comes Randy Carpenter. He came into this race as the points leader. But personally, for some drivers, like Madison Denhard, for example, that are mathematically eligible for the championship, they may not actually win the championship due to many factors that we're going to be experiencing here in the race. In which those that survive the incident and are higher seated in the points, like Randy Carpenter, for example, those are the ones we're mainly going to have to be keeping an eye out for. Not much action has been going on ever since that big wreck. I don't think even when the Craftsman Car Series has been racing here, have we seen big wrecks like that. Sean Galligan. Boy. When those 2000 cars make their way out on track once again for Season 5, you may have to make drastic new rules to be issued for the cars to prevent the racing we just saw here. And when I mean drastic measures, I mean drastic measures in a sense to make the racing a little more safer. And I'm thinking to myself that as president of the HTFRA, we may actually be downgrading these cars to nationwide standards. And we may even end up trying Le Mans. But of course with a different drafting distance. And what I mean by that is the HTFRA would be working on drafting and how to come up with a good drafting setup that would not result in lots of spinouts. As the HTFRA did test with both Cup-based cars and nationwide-based cars under their old car layout with an older chassis, circa around the times of the early to mid-2000s, like what you're seeing now with these Cup cars. These Cup cars were also tested at Le Mans, and HTFRA officials found out that the physics the nationwide Busch cars were showing were much better suited for Le Mans than the Cup-based cars. So we may end up doing the 4 races of Le Mans next season. Otherwise, since in some ways you could technically count Sean Galligan as a partial member of the HTFRA, he is not a full member like David Rochester, Peter London, and Ralph Mason are. Madison Denhart, you can also consider her a partial member. What I'm thinking of doing is, come the next running of this race, sometime in the summer, and hopefully maybe we'll find a way to make sure it doesn't go that long. Figure out how I can meet with Mads, and also meet with Sean, and we'll figure out a perfect 4-race mini-series setup, where we can include Hartlepool on the schedule, but also include various other European tracks that have become very popular. So we might even do Mallory Park. Well, I'm thinking Mallory Park. There's Silverstone, there's Netherton, there's Thruxton. Basically whatever games are available, or I mean tracks are available. For sure Le Mans is going to be on the schedule. But I can assure you right now, this mod, this mod will never be used again as a result of that horrific incident. And I believe the HTFRA is going to agree when I say this, that these cars are way too dangerous to be handling a track like this, as it does not matter what setup you put on these cars, it's still way too dang dangerous. But that's not going to stop Sean Galligan from bringing these cars on over. But I'm not going to dictate Sean. He runs his own league. I'm not going to tell him what to do. I can suggest to him like he's been doing with my races, but I'm not going to force him into it. But we will for sure be touring here, but under a new format. We'll probably call it the 4-race mini tour, in which Sean Galligan will be a host along with myself, and I'll see if my girlfriend Madison Denhart would like to enlist. And I might even talk to David Rochester, the guy who's currently running 3rd in this race, as a possible recruit. And I might even take upon Peter London and Ralph Mason on the offer since they are technically members of the HTFRA, and would be more suitable if Ralph and Sean would help out because they are both British drivers and or British members of the HTFRA. As like I said, Sean is not a legitimate member, but he is a legitimate part-time member, like Madison Denhart is. Although I think Madison Denhart mostly is going to keep her concentration on other things, but still will do her best to keep her commitment here in the HTFRA, as well as Sean Galligan, who I think is going to be doing most of his commitment with the MFN SRA, working with the likes of that of John Dillon and Chris Summers. And the laps are winding down. And there is Madison Denhart. And looks like Randy Carpenter, he's going to win this championship regardless of what happens. Unless, of course, some drivers can try and pull the pit maneuver on him. And I believe Randy Carpenter is British, so this would be a welcoming ceremony for the British drivers in this race. We have Ralph Mason, Aaron Mason, as well as Sean Galligan, that they're the other British members in this race. Other foreigners include Matthew McMurray, who is involved in that wreck. He's representing Canada. Callum Wales, representing Australia. You know, it's races like these that get the most international attention. And even if your sanctioning body is not that big, but thanks to guys like Sean Galligan, who've been very nice in helping me out, I would like to say that the HTFRA has grown to heights never experienced before. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody, whether you're a driver in this series, whether you helped out in some way, whether you became a member, or simply you were there to help me out whatsoever. I'm just glad you're there. I'd also like to thank the female drivers that came into this series, as we need to be more diverse. I really would like to give women an opportunity into this series. I'm surprised that Monica Carroll, she's still running in the top 10 right now. And although, like I said, she's not going to win the championship, and whoa, Aaron Williams looks like he's hungry for that lead. As well as David Rochester, he just won Iowa in the Dodge All-Pro Series. And he even lapped his former ride, which is being driven this year by Richard Johnson. But, as I said before, for those that have shown support for the HTFRA, we thank you. We hope you have a stupendous happy holidays. Because without you, the HTFRA would never be this big. And we appreciate with all you have done to make it number one. As I'm going to close off with that statement. We only have 2 laps to go. And here's David Rochester diving down to the inside of Aaron Williams. But if I were David and Aaron, I'd say, instead of racing each other for second, I'd say team up with each other and go after Randy Carpenter. And it seems to be a #1 priority for Aaron Williams, but David is like saying to himself, I don't know, why should I? And the white flag is going to come this time by. It's do or die time for Aaron Williams. Can he steal the show? As I'm going to say it now, Randy Carpenter is going to be your champion regardless of what happens. But it's not too late for the Hendrick guys to team up on him. At least the remaining Hendrick guys, as I believe, yes, Evan Earnhardt was taken out of the crash. Looks like Aaron Williams checked up a bit, but coming out of turn number 4, he's going to be a race winner and the champion of the 4 races of Hartlepool. Put your hands together, coming under the Goodyear Tire Bridge. It's going to be Randy Carpenter. And what a close race for second. David Rochester beat his teammate Aaron Williams at the line. But, wow. Although the winding stage stages of this race weren't as popular as was the early part of the race. This race in general, or I should say this series in general, was fun to be with. As we're going to step aside, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have the final results and the final point standings, and then we're going to sign off, as we will now have our focus on the Rug Doctor and Menards Winter Heat Tours, as well as the unveiling of a new sanctioning body come towards the end of 2012. So that's going to do it for us. I'm Bob Fergus signing off. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have the full unofficial results rundown. And welcome back to our coverage of the post-race wrap-up here for the 4 races of Hartlepool. Here's your unofficial results. Randy Carpenter is your winner and the champion of the 4 race of Hartlepool mini-series. David Rochester 2nd, Aaron Williams 3rd, Madison Denhart 4th, Eric Burton 5th, Ralph Mason 6th, Richard Johnson 7th, Monica Carroll 8th, Max Skinner 9th, Michael Skinner 10th, Steve Sinowski 11th. As those were the 11th cars that finished. From 12 on down, these cars all retired because of damage or some sort of mechanical failure. They include Connor Breton, Callum Wales, Jacob Bell, Johnny Gardner, Peachy London, Richard Earnhardt, Matthew McMurray, Denholm Renholm, Kamui Perez, Luke Martin, Matt Wells, Diego Espina, Seth Cole, David Burton, Aaron Mason, Sean Galligan, Danny Wells, Kyle Sinowski, Elijah Koufax, Evan Earnhardt, and Brandon Bain. Well, that's going to do it for us. Take a look at the point standings following this telecast. I'm Bob Fergus signing off. We will see you for the Menards Winter Heat and Rug Doctor competition, as well as the unveiling of a new sanctioning body for our New Year's Bash race, and then the Menards Winter Heat edition of the New Year's Bash race, and the conclusion of the Dodge All-Pro Series. So, take care, everybody.